Before we discuss Little Hitler, I just want to go ahead and say this. There is nothing in this world, in my opinion, that is sexier than a woman that is armed.
Yeah, welcome.
Now that we got that out of the way, guys, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Little Hitler saying he doesn't want to have any kids. And my response to that is, thank God. Last thing we need is more beta males in society. Now, guys, this video right here is not just about the Second Amendment or guns or anything, or even about Hogg. It's really about society as a whole. You see, in our society, we've got these people that, quite frankly, are a little bit weak. We like to call them beta males because they suddenly get scared at the first sign of any type of trouble. Now, guys, you're probably going to be thinking to yourself, oh my crap, you're going to give this guy a hard time after he survived a school shooting. No, I'm not going to do that. I understand why some people have certain types of trauma. I mean, hell, everybody's got trauma to a certain degree, including myself. But the thing is, this right here, it's how we choose to respond to that trauma, and it's how we choose to move forward. Now, guys, this video right here is going to have a couple of elements in it, so make sure you guys stick around for the entire video. We're going to be talking a little bit about Hogg. We're going to be talking about gunplay as a whole, and we're going to be talking about how it is that some people respond a little bit differently after certain said incidents. For example, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and lead with this now. Let's go back to Stoneman Douglas and the actual Parkland shooting. So after the Parkland shooting, you had this great big schmoz that was going on. You had people showing up to the White House. One of those people, of course, was John Cardillo, who, by the way, has gotten famous on Twitter. He's the parent that, of course, was sitting there screaming, "This pisses me off." I think he lost his daughter at that incident. God bless the man. He's been through a lot in his life. But the thing is, this right here, people were trying to kick around a lot of ideas. Now, guys, I've never been in favor of any type of gun control at all. I mean, I'm really against red flag laws, which, by the way, Trump even pushed. But then suddenly after Trump pushed that stuff, Dana Lash, of course, she came out and kind of put him in check. Thank God she did, because he actually almost lost my vote. And, of course, the current Florida governor has actually touted the red flag laws before in the past. Do I need to remind you?
Is a threat, there are options. Florida's red flag laws can take away your guns temporarily if you made a credible threat. Many, including the governor, are behind it.
But I just want us to be responsive to that. And the vast majority of these incidences have had red flags. The Marjorie Stoneman Douglas report made that clear. So I think we need to identify that and do something.
This week, Florida launched a threat assessment portal for schools and law enforcement to share information which will be confidential. And a statewide app called Fortify Florida allows anyone to report suspicious activity anonymously. In Tampa, Jennifer Holton.
Now, guys, he did not sign those into law. The previous governor, Rick Scott, did. But, of course, the red flag laws are not something that needs to be touted. The thing about someone like David Hogg is that oftentimes parents or oftentimes people have a tendency, after a certain said incident, they tend to get actually, let's just go ahead and say, a little bit spooked more than normal. And like I said before, it was a very, very traumatic event. Obviously, he had a right to be spooked about that, the same way I would have a right to be spooked about traumatic events in my life. Like I said before, just about everybody in the world has some form of trauma on them, which, by the way, is a lesson learned. You learn not to actually commit the same error that you may have done, or you may learn to stay away from something that actually hurt or affected you at some point in time in your life. It's how we respond and how we actually grow from it. Let me give you guys an example. One of the first school shootings in history, and by the way, I'll be giving you my thoughts on how to prevent these school shootings towards the end of this video, so like I said, make sure you guys stick around. One of the events that happened early in my childhood was the Columbine incident. I think I was 13 years old, about to turn 14. Yeah, I'm that old. And, of course, Columbine was a school shooting that basically sent everybody through the roof. You had these guys, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who were actually suffering from all kinds of problems. Don't worry, I will be leaving a video, a documentary on that in the description box of this video here. But the thing that you have to understand is that some people, of course, they respond a little bit differently than others. One said individual is Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. She actually became very pro-gun shortly after this incident. And, of course, some people choose to blame the gun and not the actual person themselves. I've always felt that the person behind the weapon is the person that you might want to blame. That right there being said, I'm still not in favor of any type of red flag laws, and I'm still not in favor of any type of, let's just say, any type of gun control, period. I think gun laws, gun control itself as a whole is completely and utterly unconstitutional. And my philosophy on school shootings is this right here. Maybe if you have an area where a school shooting could occur, maybe what you might want to do is consider actually arming people. Now, I know somebody's going to say that, didn't you leave a video on this about Uvalde? Yes, I did. And I made a video getting it wrong, but then came right back around the next day and corrected. Of course, I left open the possibility I'd have to correct things. It was kind of an error, but then again, it was an error that I was actually prepped for. The thing is this right here. You could have people at schools that are armed, okay, to actually protect your kids. This was something that was being kicked around during that whole time in 2019 when they were discussing any types of gun control post that event. Now, here's the thing. Somebody is going to argue, and they're going to say that the minute you put a gun inside of a classroom, the educational system has changed. Not necessarily. You see, the teachers themselves don't have to actually carry a weapon. Neither do the guidance counselors. You could always have law enforcement do, which, by the way, in the Stoneman Douglas case, the school resource officer failed, and then they turned right back around. They wanted to blame the actual hell out of the NRA. Of course, like I said, go back in time to that whole entire incident, go back that entire time to see everything that was going on. The whole thing was being kicked around, and Republicans, quite frankly, almost lost our votes in the next election because they almost caved to gun control. Of course, the riots occurred, and everybody started buying a weapon, including myself. I didn't really buy a weapon, but I bought more ammo. The thing that you have to understand is this right here. You don't have to actually ruin the educational curriculum by having people at the schools with actual firearms. You can actually have veterans there. You can have people who work the neighborhoods. You can have people who genuinely care. Jeffrey Prather, and I somewhat agree with Jeffrey Prather on this one right here, I think parents may want to take the lead on this one here. You see, in the case of Uvalde, and I know what you're saying, this video was meant to be talking about David Hogg. Yeah, we're talking about David Hogg because people like him don't seem to understand the whole mindset that you actually need a wolf to counter a wolf. You can't counter a wolf with sheep. You see, all these gun-free zones are a bunch of bullcrap, a bunch of BS. They don't do anything except invite the killers in. You see, shooters see gun-free zone and they freak out. They flip out and they think to themselves, holy crap, there's nobody here that's armed. That's their automatic assumption. Because if you go into a gun-free zone with a gun, you get prosecuted. The problem is that you're taking away the good guy who could put a stop to the bad guy. I mean, look at some of these headlines. Good guy stopped someone with a gun. There was a whole thing that happened in the Indiana Mall where a guy took down an actual mass shooter. These events have been occurring at a very, very high rate. And of course, with the current crime rate that's going on, I have a feeling that this rate is actually going to continue. Of course, crime is going to be the actual headline in the future that's going to be pitched by the mainstream media. And of course, they're going to continue to pitch gun control when, of course, gun control does not help. And morons like David Hogg don't seem to understand this. Now, guys, I will give him credit saying that he is young, obviously, very young. He's not actually been alive. He's not actually, he doesn't have any actual experience under his belt. And maybe he may learn somewhere down the road. I don't think you should take young people like that right there and automatically discard them. But then again, though, when you basically go out there and, of course, your speech becomes a character like this right here.
Churches. Here we go.
Meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt eine Stimme ab, wenn ja, dass ich gearbeitet habe, Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit, du jetzt eine Stimme ab. Höre mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingesetzt bin.
Yeah. Guys, this right here is where I'm going to end the video at. You see, the reason why we have the Second Amendment in place is obviously to protect us ourselves from actual bad guys. This country right here, while it may not ever get invaded or anything, it's definitely turning into a crime pot. It's turning into an actual shithole, especially in the cities. And of course, you need to have a weapon to defend yourself against bad guys with weapons. Of course, and by the way, we'll be doing more videos on this in the future. I want to go ahead and kind of leave you with this right here to kind of explain what I mean. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department ran an actual simulation a while back saying what is the safe distance between somebody running up on a police officer if the police officer's armed. By the way, the person who's running up has got a knife. Like I said, anything can be a weapon if you actually want it to be. I got books over there that are hardcover. I could use them as a book, and I can use them as a weapon if I wanted to. 21 feet, the officer still could only draw and still had barely enough time to actually fire off rounds to put said individual down. Trust me, guns are necessary. We need those actual weapons. The Second Amendment, you better thank God that the Second Amendment itself is in place. Check out this tweet right here. I mean, the lack of awareness out of the libs. Of course, I responded to that to that tweet saying, "Thank God for the Second Amendment," because if the shit hit the fan, you would obviously need the weapons to defend yourself, guys. I brought this up to kind of let you guys know that there was some actual good news in the world. A guy like David Hogg is not going to be importing any more turds into the world. He's already made a decision. Of course, that decision could change, so make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. I also want to talk about the stupidity of the anti-gunners and why it is that they actually get it wrong. I also want at the same time kind of give you guys an idea of exactly how I feel on being able to protect against school shooters and why it is that I understand that some of these young kids are anti-gun, but of course I think you might want to give them the time to actually grow a little bit as a person, and maybe their mind and maybe their worldview just may change. Guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comment section. There'll be a video out on reparations tomorrow. See you guys later.
I'm not like everybody else.